Good evening and welcome to episode 172 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for joining us tonight as we recap and review the unbelievable day of stake races on Travers Day this past Saturday at Saratoga. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right hand side of the screen. You guys know the drill already. Hit that notification bell because we're going to be having new shows popping up all over the place. We really need you to press that notification button so you know when new content will rise. Also, smash that thumbs up button. We'd appreciate that. Tells YouTube this is an exciting show to watch for anyone who's interested in horse racing. Of course, on my name tag there is my Twitter handle at HKravitz. And at the bottom of the screen in the scroll, you'll see right there my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Of course, you can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. And I also want to really emphasize this. This Thursday is September 1st. Why is that important? The Race Day blog resets. If you have not subscribed to the Race Day blog, please wait until Thursday because Patreon will automatically charge people on the first of each month. But if you have not received the Race Day blog, please start doing that on September 1st, this Thursday. It's only $16 a month. You get it every Saturday. It included a pick five score with an ABC ticket this past weekend at Saratoga. It included an 8-1 shot in race 3 that a gentleman named Matt Miller, I believe, cashed big time amount undisclosed. If he wants to tweet that out or put it in the chat if he's listening, he may do so. But we had many wonderful scores. We have some misses too. I mean, that's natural, of course. That's going to happen. But again, the Race Day blog, over a $2.50 ROI. Every week there's price plays that we hit with, along with fantastic ABC grids, pick fours, 5, 6 tickets, etc. Check it out. And then, of course, we also have wonderful information about the podcast on hhhracingpodcast.com. And I have to remind one of my wonderful co-hosts that we need to put some pictures up on the website of the great event we had this past Saturday at Crazy Poor OTB. And actually, the first person I want to bring on real quick for a quick comment on that is one of the great contributors we have to the show from the Chicago area, Mr. Kyle Roscoe. Kyle, how you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing, Howard? Glad to be here.
Crazy Poor OTB. Let me bring on Pete Visco also from Maryland because he was part of the show as well. We tried to get, I'll tell you what, let's just bring on the whole damn crew. What am I doing? I don't want to give Paul Halleran short shrift. We tried to get Paul on, but guys, how we doing tonight? Pete and Kyle especially, unbelievable turnout, very exciting atmosphere. Pete, you got a feel for it, I'm sure, listening at the Crazy Poor OTB in Villa Park. Kyle, I'll let you go first. Quite the experience we had this past Saturday.
Unbelievable. And like I said, I know me and Matt Miller were talking about it afterwards. Just there's nothing like getting 30, 40, 50 people in one room all cheering for the same horse as he comes down the stretch. It was unbelievable day, just made even better by the catches and everything else. Just, yeah, what a great day.
Pete, I'm sure you could feel the excitement through the microphone. We appreciate you able to contribute, which I know it was a busy day for you. We're going to talk about the races, but it is cool to hit for other people almost is better than hitting for yourself.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Anytime you can make yourself money and make other people money and make the whole room happy, then it's a pretty good day in my book.
Paul, I know you tried to get in. The internet, as usual, was shaky. Talk about your experience on Travers Day. I think I saw 48,000. I read. I mean, unbelievable crowd. It was a beautiful day. I mean, it's Travers Day. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, they announced it at 49. That does include the daily passes. So if you buy a season pass, you get counted in the attendance every day, whether you're there. But I can't imagine that's more than a few thousand. So probably at least 45,000. And we got a ton of rain on Friday right before the races. Saturday was an absolute 11 on the weather scale. Nothing like you and I experienced the last trips we were there, Howard. It was probably a high of 80 with no humidity. It was an absolute Chamber of Commerce day for Travers Day. It was terrific, just terrific.
Well, The racing was Chamber of Commerce. Guys, let's jump right in. We have Penn State Scott. That wouldn't be. For those of you that are not familiar, Matt Miller and I started with a bankroll of $1,000 that was given to us by Hawthorne. We walked out. Well, not we, but our patrons and Matt Miller and myself. We took that $1,000 and turned it into $5,900 and change, mainly on the shoulders of Matt Miller's fantastic, I get this right, $35 pick 4.
Mhm.
And then also I hit a very nice trifecta for over $1,000 with Gufo, playing my typical let's key Gufo and put him underneath. We didn't need him underneath with we'll talk about the sword dancer. Anyway, it was a great time. Guys, let's jump right to the races because we have some limited time tonight. We're going to show the replays, ladies and gentlemen, of each race. And all my two great co-hosts and Kyle, who did a fantastic job with this on Saturday, they're going to talk through the races. I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum, guys, and let you guys do most of the talking. But again, guys, feel free to bounce thoughts off each other as I show the video replay of the race. So we really don't want one of you guys talking over through the whole video. Just, you can just trade off a little bit as the race goes on, along with maybe give a little bit play-by-play, because I'm going to show each race start to finish, guys, that we can talk about. We also need to talk about many horses that are going to be pointing to the Breeders' Cup. Unfortunately, from what I understand, and Nick Tamro tweeted this out, of all the grade ones, Paul, and this is coming from Nick Tamro, I believe of all the grade ones Saturday, as of now, only 1 or 2 are actually planning on running again before the Breeders' Cup, which is, don't get me started because it's 10 weeks away. But anyway, let's jump in. We're going to start with the Forego, guys, and then we'll go into the Jerkens and etc. So we're going to start with the Forego, race 5. As I go ahead and bring it on screen. And guys, we talked about this. There is an absolute huge upset in this race, or I think most people would consider it a big upset as I go ahead and bring the results. Jackie's Warrior, a horse that all you guys know I was trying to beat the last 2 times, except for this Saturday, and then he ends up losing, is beaten by Cody's Wish. You see at the top of the screen the mutual prices. Paul, I'm going to start with you. By the way, Paul, let me actually, before I do this, let me just bring us on partially. Shout out to Paul Halloran, who I believe, I could be wrong, guys. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I believe he's the only one that gave out the Caveman pick 5 on the show for Saturday. So I believe that's true. So Paul, congratulations to that. I had the ABC pick 5 that was only available on the Race Day blog. But Paul, I wanted to throw kudos to you, sir, for a great job in giving people a smaller Caveman pick 5. So Paul, we're going to go ahead and start with you as I go full screen here. Cody's Wish, of course, wins the race. This is the grade 1 Forego. It was 7 furlongs. You want to pretty much pay attention to Cody's Wish, who's the 5, and Jackie's Warrior, who is the 3. Hold on 1 second here. I could go a little bit smaller. And there we go. You can talk through. Oh, sorry, let me go this. I apologize. All right, go ahead and talk through the race again. The 3 is Jackie's Warrior. Paul, the 5 is Cody's Wish.
Well, I think the one you have to pay attention to, Howard, is the 6 Pipeline, because that, right here, you get the feeling that he might be in deep water. And in a second here, now Cody's Wish is in full flight, and it was pretty much a foregone conclusion. So, a great run by Cody's Wish. Great story. I'm sure you've read about it. I encourage you maybe to read the online version of the Saratoga special tomorrow. I had the privilege of speaking to Cody's parents yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Spoke to the
Dorman,
Godolphin.
correct? Last name is of the family, I believe.
Yeah, Cody Dorman is
Yes.
The young man who the horse is named for, and was hooked up with this. It was a Make-A-Wish type of story, and so the Godolphin people actually named the horse for him. But it'll all be on thisisHorseRacing.com tomorrow. You can read the complete story. But anyway, it was one of those things. Howard, I don't think Jackie's Warrior, I believe, Howard, ran her second best buyer ever at 109.
Yeah.
So I don't think Jackie loses anything. I think he's still the favorite in the 6 furlong Breeders' Cup Sprint, but the combination of fast pace and Pipeline haranguing him every step of the way. And Cody's Wish, who, by the way, was 5 for 9 coming in, was no slouch. He was stepping up to grade 1. Everything aligned. And, Cody's Wish, if you liked him, you went from a 7-2 morning line to an 8-1 post time because Jackie's Warrior went off Howard at 1-9.
Quite incredible. Pete, at first I was sort of very negative to Jackie's Warriors effort until I saw the buyer, a 109. I mean, that's squarely, you could say he regressed, I guess, because he lost. But Pete, a 109 wins you the Breeders' Cup Sprint, almost every year.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at, once you see the buyers come out though across some of the dirt races, they look kind of high. So it's a little curious, but yeah, watching the replay, I think he ran a really good race. It's just the one thing you have to remember going into the Breeders' Cup is we've seen him now a couple of times take pressure. And when he takes pressure, he's vulnerable. When he gets the lead and he can have it his own way, he's not. And I only wonder, you wonder why they haven't tried again. I think they've done it once where they've tried to sit him off of speed that maybe he's better than, instead of tussling with some speed that he's a better horse than. It just makes no sense. Because if you look back, maybe, let's see, does he have
last year? He sat off.
I guess the Vanderbilt. Yeah, I guess the Vanderbilt. He didn't really sit off. But oh yeah, that's yeah. But
he's really
so
not,
it. But it may be if you're. It just doesn't make sense to tussle with an inferior horse potentially and sort of just use yourself a little too early. And then I think Cody's Wish, who's really good, and Cody's Wish was cutting back, so that last furlong or 16th or whatever isn't going to get to Cody's Wish because Cody's Wish is used to going longer. So I think that's what wound up happening. And I think Jackie's ran a great race. It got cooked, put Pipeline away pretty convincingly, and then just got run down by a horse who had a cleaner, better, less complicated in terms of the pace trip. And I think that was the end of it.
Pete, feel free to post some comments as I'm talking to some other people as well. Kyle, I'll let you have sort of last word before I make a real quick comment. Something I noticed, Kyle, I don't, this is why you have to break down paces here. If you look, Kyle, on the screen, Jackie's Warrior actually ran a faster second quarter. First quarter is 22, and 0.75, which is relatively comfortable. But he was pressed into a 22.35 second quarter, and look, the horse went 3 quarters at 108 and 3. So, although he got beat, I'm starting to think that he actually ran a pretty damn good race.
Yeah, 100%. I think even one of the more interesting angles into this is you look at Jackie's Warrior and you look at Pipeline. Look at how sandwiched those two are together. Pipeline is 200ths off of Jackie's Warrior in the first quarter and dead even in the second quarter. Yeah. So having that pressure the entire way around the half mile in a sprint, that shows more to Jackie's Warrior and just being able to keep on like he did. He's obviously the class of the field in that race and just got beat by a pace and a horse that ran a really damn good race that day.
Yeah, I agree. My take is, actually, I'm going to wait till the next race. Obviously, Jackie's Warrior, I don't think he's going to run before the Breeders' Cup. I think, isn't that correct, Paul? That's what Asmussen said. And so
that's correct.
He's going to train him to the Breeders' Cup. I'm sure he's going to fire a big number. I still like to see Jackie's Warrior get an outside post, guys. He's got a lot of inside posts in his races. I really think if he gets an outside post, like you mentioned, Pete, I think he's not like a dead speed. He can sit off just a bit. So if you like Jackie's Warrior in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, which I know we got 2 months, I think you want an outside post with him, Pete. Obviously, the inside post didn't do many favors last year in the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
No, I agree with you. I think we love to talk Breeders' Cup, but it's tough in the sprint because there are horses who are on the fence between the sprint and the mile that would probably change the projections or change our opinions. So I think it's just this early out, it's tough. But no, I agree with you. If he can be outside, maybe outside of some other speed, see some, again, inferior speed, maybe go to the lead and then just sort of sit first over, sit right off or get a spot behind, then try and run that way. I think that would be more beneficial. Because, the Breeders' Cup, even if they're not as maybe talented as him, but you get enough good horses in the race, you usually get good speed. It's tough to just win on the front end.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear.
Howard, can I just say one? Howard, can I say one thing? I don't get the buyers are artificially high argument. They're
Yeah,
in sub
Christine
one.
Race, was that Christine said mentioned that
They're
possibly?
in they're in sub 121 for 7 furlongs on a track that wasn't really playing that fast.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I did not. I've not looked at time form. Listen, there's a lot of speed figures. If you don't like buyers, then look at time form. Look at Equibase. Look at the Rags. Look at Thorograph. I mean, I haven't seen any real indication the buyers are off, but it's something to consider.
Well, one thing, Howard, we do formulator on here, and if you do use formulator, you could see the comparison between time form and buyer.
Right.
So sometimes you could see if there's a bigger discrepancy than what the normal is. So that sometimes comes in handy to see if maybe one is inflated or deflated or vice versa.
Absolutely. All right, let's go on to the next race, guys. The Jerkens. The Jerkens, of course. And Pete, I'm going to have you start first in this race. Jack Christopher was, I thought, more workmanlike, and I think Matt Miller took a bit of an offense to that. And I think in hindsight, hindsight's always, it's always good to take a step back and look at things. I think Jack Christopher was very good. I don't think he was like absolutely blew me away like the best horse I've ever seen, but he was pretty damn good. We're going to show the replay here. This is the HL and Jerkens. Jack Christopher is the 6. Gunite is the 8. The horse I like to creditive a bit, or accretive, I've heard zillion different names, pronunciations, was the 9. Did not run well. I'll admit that I was wrong. Credit just didn't run well at all, frankly. Conager was the 1. Pete, talk about Jack Christopher, the 6 here, who wins the HL and Jerkens.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about Jack Christopher, whether it's workmanlike or not, is he does his best running sitting off the target, so he doesn't get mixed up in these speed duels. So you see here where you see Conager actually, I thought Conager had the worst of it because didn't break great for a speed horse and then rushed up. And I think I have it on my other screen, I think that first quarter that Conager ran was a little quicker than, 22.18. It was a little quicker than maybe you would want rushing up, which is perfect for Jack Christopher, who then just sits the perfect trip right behind a horse who maybe had to kill himself a little bit to get the lead. And then just sort of runs the normal race that he runs. And and I think Gunite ran so well, maybe Jack Christopher's race doesn't look as great, but I think this is just what he does. And I think he's a phenomenal horse, especially shorter.
Kyle,
you see here, go ahead. I know somebody wants to talk it through.
Gunite makes a little bit of a run, and then you see a Accretive coming wide here.
Yeah, like I said, to your point, Accretive was just outside the whole race, never really given a chance. But like I said, he didn't run very well. Like I said, I know I always preach Jack Christopher is just better shorter, better one turn. He's a 7 furlong horse, maybe a mile, Breeders' Cup mile, even though it is 2 turns this year. But he just goes on with it, goes away. I think Gunite ran extremely well this race. To get within a length and a quarter of Jack Christopher is no small feat in and of itself. I thought he ran a great race, but Jack Christopher just doing what he does best, like Pete said, does great with one target in front of him, gets the perfect trip, and just goes away with it at the end.
Well, and one thing we talked about, I was just saying, one thing we talked about on the show and on Saturday was that Gunite has been really great in 2022, but he runs a similar style to Jack Christopher, and Jack Christopher just out-styled him. I mean, he just does it a little bit better, and that's what you saw there. But I agree with Kyle. I thought Gunite was great. I would love the two of them in whatever they go in the Breeders' Cup. I think I wouldn't mind, thinking about either one of them in whatever race they're in.
Well, 3-year-old stepping against older is not going to be easy, but Jack Christopher he's not your normal 3-year-old guys. This is really talented. Jack Christopher got a second career best 104. Never looked like a loser. And to me, Paul, as I bring this back on screen, Jack Christopher is a little more tactical than Jackie's Warrior, and that's a big advantage in any race. I never get the feeling Jack Christopher has to be right on the lead. Jackie's Warrior, I sort of feel like does. Paul.
I will be betting Jackie's Warrior in a 6 furlong race over Jack Christopher.
Wow. Okay. Tell me your feelings on Jack Christopher going forward.
I think he's a 7-8 furlong horse, and as Kyle mentioned, he's a tremendous horse. But I think at 6 furlong, I think the distance does play a factor. I think if the Breeders' Cup were at Churchill this year, the 1-turn mile would be perfect for a horse like him, as well as Speaker's Corner. as well as Cody's Wish, but it isn't. It's at Keeneland. So you got to go 2 turns if you want to go the dirt mile. I don't know what they'll do with him. Obviously, he's very, very formidable. And Gunai keeps getting better. But at 6 furlongs, I'll take Jackie's Warrior.
Yeah, I think he's better a little bit in the mile. I mean, I don't think the 2 turns should bother him because even in the Haskell, he was great. He just couldn't get that last. He just couldn't get that last whatever it was, last 16th when he faded. But I thought he was great the whole way through, and then his pedigree sort of caught up with him. So I think the 2 turns wouldn't be an issue in the mile. But I agree with Paul. I think the 6 furlongs, we just haven't seen it since his debut, so it might be tough.
Paul, I sent out a poll on Twitter, and the fans respectfully disagree with you, as you can see here. It's the poll is still open, but as of now, 39.3% would bet Jack Christopher, 28.6% Jackie's Warrior, and then a bunch also would depend on their price, and some said neither. Your thoughts on this poll, Paul?
I think it's great. It's a pari-mutuel game, so I want to see more people disagree with me.
But Paul, would you think differently if there was a ton of speed in there and it was again where Jackie's Warrior was going to take a ton of heat up front, or would you still have the same opinion?
No, I would think you got to always, Pete, have to look at the field. I think Jackie's Warrior can be as fast as they want him to be early. And contrary to what you were saying, and I know what you're saying, Pete, about sitting off, but there's also the argument when you're facing that nagging other horse, just put him away early.
I agree with that.
Obviously, he has the ability to do. Now, if Jackie's Warrior wanted to put Pipeline, now in order to do that, though, on Saturday, he might have gone 21-3, 43-4, which is not really the recipe to win a 7 furlong race. It may be, however, the recipe to win a 6 furlong race.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's go ahead on. Whoop, I'm sorry. You didn't see what I was doing. Let's go on to the personal ensign. Kyle, you covered this like a glove on the show on Saturday. You helped me preview the race at the Crazy Poor OTB. So out of full respect, sir, we will let you actually talk about this race first as I go ahead and bring it up there. You can see the results there. Malathot, and we have a lot to talk about this race, although we're only going to talk for a short amount of time tonight. Malathot wins the race. I guess you can call it an upset at 3-1. Search results, a huge second. Latruska third. Everyone's wondering, where's Clary? Where's Pete's horse? Where's Clarier? And I will admit, Pete, that I actually put a small win bet on Clarier also because I actually thought I was getting an okay price at like 9-5, to be honest, on Clarier. We'll talk about her in a second. And the break here was huge. You have to watch all the horses. Really take a look at what happened to the 3 Clarier. I don't know if we're able to see it. I don't know if you guys have heard the story, but I saw the head on and I saw right before they broke, and there's definitely an excuse for Clarier. So I might freeze that. Let's see if we can see it here. You can't. Do you see right there, guys? There it is. I'm going to rewind it again. Look really carefully at the 3 hole here, where Clarier sort of false started. Watch the 3, guys, real carefully. Right there to see she false started. Her nose hits the gate. That had to have played into it because Kyle, she just broke really slow.
Yeah, you said it exactly on when this race first went off.
Yeah.
At the Crazy Poor, she just drops back by 8-9 lengths, and that's
Crazy.
It's not like her running style. I know she obviously likes to come from the back, but she does not like to sit that's goofo far back. She does not like to sit that far back, and like I said, she tries to come up a little bit, but she just never ran. She never got into the race, and it was really not depressing is not the right word, but she never really got a chance in this race. And I think Malathot, I said it on the podcast originally. I thought this was basically just a repeat of the race on Belmont Stakes Day of the Ogden Phipps. I just thought it was going to be Clarier and Malathot coming down the lane together, 1-2, and whoever gets the best gets the best. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise almost, because it was a lot better for all the patrons at Crazy Poor, as Malathot was actually the highest of the four in the will pays, which was actually huge for us. But like I said, you see Malathot actually getting very close, just running the race that she likes to run.
That's
and
where
especially
we
in a
thought
5-horse field.
Probably be if any of them,
right.
Either between those two, right?
100%, exactly. And like I said, Latruska actually breaks away from search results a little bit, but the Queen's just going to tire out a little bit and actually run behind him. Search Results, again, running a massive race, just like she did in the Ogden Phipps as well, just getting beat by Clarier in that race. That's correct.
Pete, I want to freeze it. I want to freeze it right here now on the show. I thought I called it a brilliant ride. Pete would sort of listen. I respect all you guys. This is what's fun arguing. Maybe brilliant might have been a little over the top, but he could have Johnny V could have easily come through this hole easily. I just like the fact, Pete, that he wasn't cute. That there's no one who was outside. He decides to lose ground and lose a little bit of momentum, frankly, and swing her out, and give Malathot the best chance to win. Right here, Pete, as you're watching the race, would you think it was going to be Search Results or Malathot, honestly, at this point?
No, I thought Search Results had the chance, but Search Results, I just don't think loves this distance. So I felt like Malathot was in a good position that if she was ever going to do it, this was the time, because you could tell Latruska was fading. Search Results doesn't seem to ever want to get it this far, even as close as she winds up getting. And Malathot, like you said, I didn't mean to poo-poo the ride or anything. It was just more of, I think with a horse like that, I think getting out into the clear instead of trying to come up the rail and being a little more athletic maybe isn't her thing. So I think what you said was right, where I think he just knows this horse well enough to know, hey, I got to get her clear, get her a straight line, and once she gets going, then she's hard to stop. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think the like Kyle said, though, the Clarier breaking so badly, apparently she hit her head a couple times. She hit the starter on her way out. So because I think Search Results this is too long for her. I think she's good, but not great going this distance. And I think Latruska may just be on the downswing a bit and can't really take the pressure anymore. So I think what Malathot did was beat two horses that at this distance she's probably just better than.
Paul, this came back a really fast race again, very high quality. For those that are sort of ripping on Latruska, or ripping is not the right word, but sort of saying Latruska's done. And I gotta be honest, I'm a little more critical about Latruska than some others. Paul, she still ran a damn 101, lost by a length and a half. It's not like Latruska ran a bad race. I mean, she can still run. I just don't think she's good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Distaff based on the last few races. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I actually previewed this race out, so I spent some time Friday morning with Latruska and Fausto Gutierrez and Jose Ortiz, and they were thinking that she is better around two turns because she can open up a little bit. And I mean, I didn't like her to win the race, but I thought that she'd be much more of a factor than she was in the Phipps, and she was, frankly. But the difference with Malathot, Howard, and I don't know if anyone's going to be able to see this picture. This is a picture when they paddock schooled Malathot. Now, Todd Pletcher is a pretty straight shooter. And Todd said for whatever reason, Malathot was dull going into the Chuvie, had low energy in the paddock, and he really couldn't explain it other than maybe it was the weather that day. When Malathot was paddock schooling like that on Wednesday, she was going to be a different horse. Doesn't mean she was going to win, but she's a tough cookie. And the more I looked at that race, we make a lot of mistakes in this game as handicappers, Howard. I make more than most, but I really did. And I was with a friend sitting at my table. I said, Malathot at 3-1 here is an absolute steal. She's coming into the race much better. I thought it would be a 5-3 all day, and Clarier did. She also cut her tongue in the midst of all that too. That. So anyone who wants to slice your tongue and then go out and run 9 furlongs, let me know how you feel. But I really
feel
thought
good running 10 feet.
Yeah, I had used in the race. I had used Clarier and Malathot as my 2As, so I had Malathot as an A all the way along, and she ran terrific.
Yeah, it's going to be, this staff. We've seen some good ones over the years. You throw Nest along with these horses that ran here. Maybe there's others I can't recall. I can't think of right off the top of my head. How about what would be cool would be see the Queen's Plate winner. I don't know if she's going to be running on dirt. Was it Moira, I believe is her name? Mm-hmm. If she could take the dirt, I'm not saying she's going to win the race. It would just be a fun addition to the staff. That's all I'm saying.
And Nest right now is a pretty big favorite in some of the odds I was checking.
That to me is just absolutely silly. I don't.
I mean, I think she will be the favorite as of right now, unless something happens between. Oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think 100%.
I'll take Claire at 5-1 in the Breeders' Cup thing.
Oh, I'm not saying I'd bet her, but I'm saying I think. Shoot, I see Clariere in the odds on odds checker is 14 right now. I would love that.
What? Wait, in the distaff? No.
I'm looking at the odds checker right now. Yeah.
In the distaff. Wow.
Yeah.
Why does he doubt you, Pete?
I mean, I can read if nothing else, Paul. I can read. Not that much, but not.
If she was 14-1 listed in the classic, that'd make even more sense. I don't. That just seems like a crazy high number. All right.
Yeah. No, this is terrible. But go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, but bless you, Pete. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Paul, you're going to talk first through the Sword Dancer. For those of you that are not too familiar with our show, I can think of a lot of reasons to watch what I believe is an excellent podcast, as do the people that are with me here on the screen, and they help make it what it is. We had a great guest on Tuesday night, guys. We had Miguel Clement on Tuesday, just coincidentally. I sort of had a little bit of a feeling, and if those of you that watched or at least watched either live or the replay, I thought Miguel Clement, and he's a pretty modest guy, as is Christoph. He was honest. And I thought he said he used the word bullish, I believe, Paul, if I remember correctly, on his chances. I thought it was a fantastic ride by Joel. We go ahead and bring up here the details of this race. Of course, Gufo wins. Mirror Mission, a very big second, 3 wide the whole way. Soldiers Rising, the other Clement, gets third. Quite an impressive effort there by the Clement barn, finishing first and third. Gufo gets the job done at a decent price, Paul, in the Sword Dancer.
Yeah, he was, Howard, and I think I mentioned on the show Thursday night when I was able to get through. I was going to watch Gufo train Friday morning at 6:15.
He's the 6, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, Paul. He's the 6 horse. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I talked to Christoph Friday morning, bright and early, and he said, obviously the blinkers went back on. He won 4 in a row to end last year with blinkers. He took them off this year. He felt that the horse was too keyed up at the Breeders' Cup turf. He ran his first 4 races this year without them. And in the Monmouth race, his most recent race, the United Nations, he was 17 lengths behind at one point. And Christoph just felt that, you're not going to win a race of this caliber being that far back. He said, actually, he was 15 lengths back with a quarter mile, 3/8 to go in a 1 3/8 race, and he lost by 2 lengths. So he said he made up 13, but not 15. But you could see here, Joel Rosario has him about 6 lengths off of Tribhuvan, and he pretty much keeps him that distance all the way around. And it was a great plan by Clement. And it was a great execution by Rosario, and it was just the way they drew it up. They were quietly confident. The horse had been training well. He had coming off 3 works on the Oklahoma with the blinkers, and they felt that if he, I actually spoke to his owner, Stephen Kennelly, who was not in from Texas, but I spoke to him on the phone yesterday, and he said, when we're 5, if he's 5 or 6 lengths off at the top of the stretch, we think he's going to win or be pretty close. So Mirror Mission, Howard, who I did have in my pick 5, by the way, who as good as the Gufo story is, the 18-1 Mirror Mission would have been a much better story.
Tell me about it. If that horse wins, the people in the at Crazy Poor, that 5,900 we ended up with having would have been about 12,000, by the way.
Oh yeah, because the pick 5, goes from whatever it paid
against Tribhuvan, going by pretty darn easily here. Just couldn't quite sustain it, Paul.
Yeah, I mean Tribhuvan was not going to go all the way in this race, and you could see Gufo in the green and black, I think it is, on the outside. And right here, Mirror Mission's looking good, but Gufo's stride when he gets underway, and I know Pete loves to watch it because he loves watching horses like this.
Yeah,
it's really something to watch, and he won relatively easily. I was watching the race, Howard, in the clubhouse underneath a big TV directly behind Miguel, Christoph, their other son, and the groom, and they were pretty happy late in the stretch.
Kyle, you've got again Soldiers Rising, who I believe, if I recall, Pete, you had on top in our show. I think Andrew Champagne had second. Kyle, this horse, I'll show the incremental splits here in a minute. Soldiers Rising was just too far back. I turned to Matt, as you know, halfway through the race. I said, if Soldiers Rising wins this race, he's an absolute superstar. He came pretty damn close. And I know it's easy to rip on Broom, who's right here, who, Aiden is still over, and who broke slow. And again, Broom breaks slow if you watch his races. And that's the main difference between Euro races and these races. Even though Broom broke slow in his last two races, and I talked about it, he still was able to get to the lead. That's just not going to happen here in the States. Broom did run a pretty darn good race. People can say what they want, but, I mean, he's really right there at the end, breaking 4 lengths slow, Kyle.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, he ran a good race. There's nothing to take away from him. Just, again, like you hit the nail on the head. In these types of races, when you're just not going to be able to make like a mid-race move like that and meet the leader at the top of the turn. It's just not going to happen. Gufo, like I said, ran an amazing race. Soldiers Rising, I know I also touted. Pete had him on top. Just a good race, like you said, just a little far back. Mirror Mission, a good race. But like you touted Miguel Camont, there's not enough high praise for him, like saying literally exactly what happened, dead on the head. So Gufo, I just think he's better at 1.5 miles. I think he loves the more ground, and just gets the job done running in the clear like that.
Pete, Soldier, you see this column here at the end. Soldiers Rising and Broom both run the same final quarter in sub 24s, faster than Gufo, actually. I'm assuming Broom's going to go to the Breeders' Cup. Pete, of these top 4, who would you want most likely in the Breeders' Cup? Even though I think all of them would be much bigger prices against some excellent Euros probably coming over.
Yeah, I'm not sure you want any of them, but if you had to pick one, I'm not completely against Soldier Rising, only because this was Soldier Rising's. This was a big step up in class for Soldier Rising.
I sort of agree with you. He's got more upside, right?
He's got a little bit of upside, and I think, like you said, that I couldn't believe he was that far back. I knew he was going to close, but not in dead last. And you're watching him, and he was sort of losing connection with the field a little bit. I'm like, what's going on? And then when he finally got underway, he really closed. I mean, I love Gufo. Gufo will always be on my ticket. I don't care if he's overmatched because I love him, and if he wins, I'm not gonna lose. And like Paul said, he's just one of my favorites. I love the big closer. But we said if you get him close enough, and he loves the 1.5 miles. So at the 1.5 miles, I think that's his best. But at the Breeders' Cup, he ran the worst race of his life last year. And I don't know if that was, he's not as bad as he was in that race. I'm not sure he's as good. One thing we did say on the show last week, or at least I know I mentioned it, was I thought this was a great field, but not great horses. And Gufo just ran the best out of all of them. So like you said, I'm not sure if these are Breeders' Cup turf winners, but for what this race was, I think you have a few that ran well. And Aidan O'Brien, 0 for 25, 12 furlongs and up in the U.S. So that number just keeps getting bigger.
How about we put Louis Howard? How about we put Louis Sayers on Broom in the Breeders' Cup turf, and let's talk.
Okay. So you're blaming Ryan Moore for the break?
Well, look, Howard.
I'm just asking the question.
Japan last year, too far behind.
Here we go. How did I know Japan was going to come up in the conversation?
He broke a little slow, okay? But I'm not sure I agree with Kyle. I think there is an opportunity. It wasn't a lightning pace in that race. There was an opportunity to not sit. He was 10th at the top of the stretch, Kyle. 10th out of 10, okay? I watched his last 2 races when I was writing the preview. His last race, he sat on top of a hot pace, very hot pace at Ascot, took the lead, and got picked up by 3 horses. Pretty good effort. The Hardwick at Royal Ascot, he led every step of the way at 12 furlongs. Now, how does that translate to being 10th at the top of the stretch in this race on Saturday? So let's not, look at you missed the break a little. You can't blame that all on the jockey. There's no way on God's green earth that horse can be 10th at the top of the stretch, period.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. Someone in the chat mentioned, Matthew mentioned Domestic Spending, who just had his first work since, I believe, last year. That'd be that'd be DeHaas-esque to make
Yeah, I would
to make
love
the
that. Would be
race, but
awesome though. If
that'd be
he
pretty
can
cool.
make it, that would be great.
By the way, before we talk about the Travers, Pete and Paul, you know who Gufo reminds me of? This is a horse that you two would know, that Kyle, based on his wonderful young age that we all wish we were probably still, reminds me of Awad. I loved Awad. Big time closer on the turf. I think the same color silks too, like green, and I'd have to go back and look. Somehow I think this, I'm not saying the same ownership, but anyway, Awad
It's
was one of
definitely
my
not
favorite,
the same ownership.
Awad was one of my favorite turf closers, guys, when I was just starting to like watch racing, more seriously. I believe won the million. I have to go back and look, or maybe finished second.
Yes.
But anyway, I won the million. Yeah. Marlin, another fun horse back in the day, big closer on the turf. Anyway, all right, guys, let's get to the big one, the Travers. And Paul, I'm gonna let you. Actually, Pete will let you go first here. This one, Epicenter was. I mean, what are you gonna say? Absolutely awesome. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You can see he was even money there. You can see the mutuals. Cyberknife, I thought, ran a pretty darn game second, although distant second. Zandon third. We'll go ahead and watch the replay of the 153rd Travers. If there's ever a race where a horse like never looks like a loser, I think you need to watch this race, because Epicenter seemed that way to me, Pete. The sixth right here, breaking well, sat the pocket, just ran a wonderful race.
Well, this is what he was doing earlier in the year, where he was breaking and in some cases even going to the lead. But I think this is his better style. But the last few, he had broke poorly, so he left himself a little bit more to do. This one, like you said, he broke beautiful. He sits the perfect trip. Again, he's behind Cyberknife, who, if you look at the two of them, I think Epicenter's probably better, but I mean, at least that's the horse that you're chasing. And Cyberknife winds up taking some pressure. Ain't Life Grand, which I'm not sure that's what we thought was going to be the one pressuring the pace. I mean, to me, the whole thing, I was completely confused watching the race here. I don't like Cyberknife on the lead. I wasn't sure why Ain't Life Grand.
That was on the inside, and I give him credit because it was there for the taking. And I mean, he lost to a monster, and the fact that he held on for second right here, you figure everyone's passing him.
Well,
and
luckily Zandon hangs every single race, so he doesn't mind. Zandon
But
needs
I
that
mean,
cutback
Zandon,
more than
yeah,
anybody.
I mean, Zandon did about 1/8 of the running in that race that Cyberknife did.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, I think Zandon hangs, or Zandon should have gone by. I thought Rich Strike, I thought Sonny Leone, I didn't understand why he didn't take him and just stay on the rail. I was confused by a lot of the rides in this race. None of it would have mattered, though, because Epicenter was a mile better than all of them. But
he really was.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you how. And I Cyberknife, that pick 5 was paying, twice as much, and I was certainly getting a little hopeful when he was on the lead, and I bet him. But
Yeah.
I got no complaints. I mean, this Epicenter, take away his maiden race, his first start last September as a 2-year-old, and the horse has simply never run a bad race. Eight starts after that race, 5 wins, 3 seconds. One of the seconds should have been a win. Let's face it. And Rich Strike ran okay. Give him credit. He ran decent. I don't know what happened to early voting. Early voting was basically eased in the race.
Yeah.
Artorias is obviously, and I liked him a little too. Howard obviously was in way over his head at this point in his career.
He did run his best buyer, but I was wrong. I thought he'd fire better. And
I think
I'm a man enough to say that it was too much too soon. But
he's just not upside.
Paul, I have no problem taking a shot with him. Though. Like, I don't regret my pick.
No, I used him.
Didn't work out. Just didn't work out.
Absolutely. I mean, Gilded Age is a very average horse. So, Rich Strike. Look don't be confused with me ever thinking Rich Strike was a bad horse. I just said it's completely absurd that he won the Kentucky Derby, and I maintain that. But he ran, he ran okay. But look this is a serious racehorse, Epicenter. And, Asmussen has been pretty much saying that all along. I know they all trainers speak, but he really is felt vindicated. And, now he gets to take on all the big boys in the Classic. And I got to tell you, I'm not lying. I'm not tripping over people to bet against them. It's going to be a different race, but, would he come back with a number, Howard? You just had it on the screen. Was it just under 108, 109?
112, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 112 is that's going to
112,
play. you you can take that
yeah.
to a lot of racetracks and do okay, Howard.
Oh, no question about that. Kyle, you know, there are a lot of things to talk about this race. We're not going to go on for too much longer. I do want to show one other thing. Let's bounce off of Paul here. Where does Epicenter fit in the Breeders' Cup? And Kyle, before you answer that question, and I'm not going to show back the buyers, but Pete, I thought you made an excellent point. How good is Steve Asmussen? I mean, I'm not a trainer, but I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of trainers, especially in the last few years. You look at Epicenter's buyers, Kyle, just every time either improved or stayed the same. He has never taken a step back in his entire career. That is all trainer ability and talent of the horse. That's an incredible training job to get him to run his best number on one of the biggest races of the year. I can't say enough about the job Steve Asmussen did with this horse.
Oh, 100%. I think Steve Asmussen is amazing at just picking the right spots for his horses. Not only with Epicenter, obviously, like you said, running back to back to back to back to back, basically the same exact buyer, but Gunite ran well that day for Winchell as well. It's just, I think Steve Asmussen really puts his horses in the right spot every single time. And, it's perfect.
Now, guys, let's have a 5-minute combo about this, and then we're going to end the show. I put this, here's another poll I sent down if you guys saw on Twitter. The question says, I should have read the first one. I'm forgetting that people are going to be listening to this, so I apologize those of you that are listening to this on our audio platforms. The poll question, which is, you can still vote on this, folks, on Twitter right now. If you had to vote on Horse of the Year right now, whom would it be? Flightline, Life is Good, Epicenter, Jack Christopher. Right now, the leader is Epicenter, 45.5%. Flightline second, 28.6%. Life is Good, 19.5%. Jack Christopher, 6.5%. I know it's always slanted, Pete, towards recency. I strongly disagree with this right now, and I said why on Twitter. Real quick, we'll just whip around, Kyle. If you had to vote right now, who would it be?
I voted in this poll. I voted Life is Good. I just think I just think his higher profile races, like you said, it's recency. He's ran 2 really good seconds in the Triple Crown races, but I just think Life is Good has won on better races. I'm going Life is Good.
Pete?
I think I voted Epicenter on here, but I think I think, and this is a cop-out answer, I don't think you could tell. I don't think you could tell because Life is Good and Epicenter haven't done what they need to do yet. And Flightline, if Flightline runs away on Saturday, he jumps over both of them because he'll be the leading candidate for the Classic. Then I just think it's a little early to tell even if you had to choose one. Epicenter, I think, has won.
The damn school teacher throws a trick question at him, Pete.
Yeah.
By the way, Flightline, the Pacific Classic was just drawn. Flightline, the 5-horse, 1-5 morning line. Second choice, Country Grammar, 4-1. Paul, who would you vote for in this? And I guess a better question, Paul, is who's the favorite to win Horse of the Year going forward? Would you say once the year's over?
Well, I think this is a very fair question. What do you think? Who's accomplished it up to today? And I think it's clearly Epicenter if you go by up to today.
Okay.
I mean, he's run the most number. I mean, Flightline runs once every lunar eclipse.
Well, see.
Okay.
Paul, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's the debate. Now, I mean, are people like poo-pooing Flightline Life is Good because they just don't run as much? Epicenter is a 3-year-old, just to push back and just for argument's sake. I mean, he was great, the last 2 times at Saratoga. He didn't win a Triple Crown race. Don't you have to win a Triple Crown race to be the Horse of the Year if you're a 3-year-old?
Well, do we want to start talking about the fields that Flightline is? He won the Met Mile. The 1-term Met Mile, he looked tremendous.
That's one of the best races of the entire season, right? The Met Mile?
I'm not betting him. Look, it's going to be decided on the track at the Breeders' Cup Class.
No question about it. Just having some fun.
And wasn't this one of the worst Met Miles we've seen in a while, or no?
Yeah, but,
if I remember.
But guys, I mean, how good was the Preakness?
Oh, it was no good. I mean,
saying,
I think Epicenter. I actually think Epicenter.
Race, guys, you can pick apart any race. It's not Flightline, and I'm not saying I completely disagree with you guys. I'm just pushing back for argument's sake. Flightline Life is Good. You can only beat who you have in front of you. I mean, you guys have said the same thing many times, right?
I just don't think there is a horse of the year right now. I don't think anyone has done enough to be a great contender for horse of the year. I think all of them have done some excellent stuff, but I think horse of the year at this point, we usually have some really, really rock solid, top-notch contenders. And I think now one slip up, I mean, I guess Epicenter's not running again, so he's not slipping up until the Classic. We'll see what Life is Good does in the Woodward. We'll see what Flightline does in the Pacific Classic. Right. And then,
Well, but is it though? Is this Pacific Classic going to tell us a lot about what's going to happen in the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Well, no, it's going to tell us if he loses, it's going to tell us that he's not great. I think that's all it's going to tell us.
Well, if Flightline, I mean, if he gets a little bit of pressure somehow and draws off and wins by 10 and leaves Country, isn't Country Grammar arguably the second best older male in the country right now? Distance on dirt. I
maybe.
Maybe Life is Good. You could argue. I mean, beat Life is Good in Dubai. If Flightline completely dusts Country Grammar, guys, I think that says a lot. Personally, that's just my opinion. What it means in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I don't know.
Are they going to be able to run him? Will he be able to run in the Is that enough time off between next Saturday and the Breeders' Cup Classic? It's only 9. It's only 9 weeks. I think it's kind of unfair to ask this horse to run back in 9 weeks.
Paul just hates Flightline.
No, I don't hate. I hate the fact that they have a horse of that ability that they don't run.
Yeah.
He ran the Met Mile. Howard, you and I were there. The Met Mile was June 11th. Okay. And Saturday is September 2nd, 3 months, just about 3 months, and then 9 weeks to the Classic. All right. Sorry, it's my opinion. I don't own the horse. God love them. The West Point people are great people. Costa Horonis, they're all great for the game. I don't like the fact the horse doesn't run, and that's my opinion.
It's fair. I will close out by saying this, guys. We appreciate everyone watching episode 172 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Before I close out officially, you can see on the bottom of the screen, we've got a great show. I'm really excited Thursday night for our Pacific Classic Day preview. We've got the Winning Bread guys, Dylan Rossi, a.k.a. DGen Nation CEO. If you are on Twitter, Dylan Rossi very well, and his good pal, Brady Klotz. They're going to be here to break down the Pacific Classic Day card with us. I'm really excited. Make sure you come here on this YouTube channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, our usual flagship time this Thursday as we chop up Pacific Classic Day, guys. I will just say this. I think the whole key on many levels for all these horses we talked about and many other horses on Breeders' Cup Day is 3 words. Actually, 5 words. Where does life is good? 6 words. Where does life is good go? Is he going to go to the Classic or the Dirt Mile? Because I think there are a lot of horses that are going to see what Life is Good is planning on and make their decision. If Life is Good is in the Dirt Mile, I don't know why Jack Christopher would go there. I got to be very honest. He might still go there. I think he'd be better suited to the sprint maybe anyway, my personal opinion, just because of the field. I mean, you got Zandon's going to turn back, who I think is very dangerous in the Dirt Mile, guys. There's other horses that are going to turn back. I know we can have that other discussion. Pete, I think you're totally against even the Dirt Mile race overall, if I recall.
No. I love the Dirt. I love the Dirt Mile.
Someone doesn't like the Dirt Mile.
I love the Dirt Mile.
Maybe it was Paul. Was that you? I can't recall. But anyway, we'll have time to talk about it. But I think where Life is Good goes is really going to have a big effect on the fields this year. I personally hope he goes to the Classic. I hope they all just the best ones line up in the Classic. I don't know why, Matthew, you think he has to go in the Classic. I mean, we'll see. I don't think winning 2 Dirt Miles in the Breeders' Cup does much for a stud value, Paul. I think Life is Good stud value would increase 20-fold if he's able to beat a potential Flightline and win the Breeders' Cup Classic, in my opinion.
He won the Whitney, which is a premier race for older horses, and it's at 9 furlongs. He's got to go to the Classic. I mean, no disrespect to the Dirt Mile, but
I would hope so.
By the way, the Dirt Mile is going to be you're going to be looking at very likely Speaker's Corner and Cody's Wish, the 2 Mott horses to start with.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting. We'll see. Anyway, we have plenty of time to talk.
Well, Cody's Wish is definitely going.
Okay. Pete
and now Speaker's Corner ran a dud the other night in the Pat O'Brien. So
He did. He did. Won by Laurel River very nicely for Baffert, by the way. Pete and Kyle, really quickly. Pete, I'll have you go first. Final thoughts on Travers Day.
It was an awesome day. We saw a couple of good performances. We saw a couple of great performances, Jack Christopher and Epicenter, and we saw, we just saw some big time horses run. It's a shame that we're not going to see them again, some of them until the Breeders' Cup. But it was a great day, as it always is. Travers Day, one of the best of the year.
Kyle, your thoughts on any one particular performance? I guess Epicenter really stole the show in general. I would think.
Oh, 100%. Like I mentioned earlier, just being in that room with everybody cheering for Epicenter, just unbelievable day being at the OTB there. But I mean, Epicenter definitely takes the cake. But like I said, Jack Christopher, don't take anything away from Malathot either. She ran an amazing race. Be interesting to see, how the distaff shakes out this year, being with them and all of that. But like I said, Epicenter steals the show. Travers Day, be excited for the Breeders' Cup.
Well, it was very exciting. We got big Breeders' Cup preps this weekend. Also, it's Saratoga has another big weekend. Of course, Del Mar. So you got to continue to follow these races as we get inch closer and closer to the Breeders' Cup in just over 2 months. For Paul Halloran, Pete Visco, Kyle Roscoe, this has been host Howard Kravitz, episode 172 of the HHH Racing Podcast. We'll see you on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then also make sure starting Thursday you subscribe to our fantastic Race Day blog through Patreon. Information below the video player or on our website. Take care, everyone. We'll see you Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night. Bye-bye.